Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, I hope you're doing really well in this moment in time, and that wherever you are, wherever you happen to be, on this big, beautiful green and blue globe that we live on, I hope that you are becoming consciously aware of exactly what you're made of as your metal is tested, that you know who you are in a crisis. And once you know who you are in a crisis, that you like that part of yourself. There are few things in this world that will test you and show you what you're made of. One of them is becoming suddenly very rich. You're going to find out in a hurry if you become a sudden millionaire, whether you're a jerk or you're a good person. You'll find out if you're responsible or if you're like super irresponsible with your money, right? Crises such as what we're going through right now is another one of those tests in life. Now, usually the crises, it's kind of an individual basis. Sometimes it's a familial basis. Usually when there's an emergency, it's only like in your immediate life, or maybe the lives of your family. Maybe it's like, a group thing. Or sometimes it's a town thing, such as the case of Paradise, California catching on fire. That wasn't any other city's deal. I mean, although there were other cities around there, Concow and small communities were all threatened together, but it wasn't even really the whole county, So sometimes the karma is individual, sometimes it's global, and this time it looks like it's global somehow, right? Even though I didn't create the virus, you didn't create the virus, and yet now here we are. I don't know the higher workings of God, obviously. Although I and my Father are one to the extent that I can be one with God. But that taking on the mantle of God and becoming a worker for God or a slave to God, Abdullah, where you're just like holding the energy here on earth and God speaks through you, talks to you, tells you what to do, where to live and all that. But as far as understanding the inner workings of the mind of God, it's going to take a lot of years or lifetimes or never, for me to get to that level. So I don't understand all the things that are going on exactly on the planet right now. Exactly why. Like, we all know that there's a virus. We all know it's deadly and dangerous. We all know that some leaders are just hopping right to it, and the numbers are going down. Like in South Korea. We know that some countries had one person that had it. That one person self-isolated. That one person got better. Bada boom, bada bing. No one has it anymore. In Fiji, in the middle of freaking ocean, you'd think that would be the one place on earth that would be safe. But no. One person had it. That person died. And their 1-year-old nephew now has it. So, of course, he can't self-isolate by himself, so I'm expecting the parents will possibly come down with it as well. Hopefully, they will all be okay. They will self-isolate, thereby saving the population of Fiji, hopefully. But how are you reacting and responding to the crisis? That's the big question today. Are you shaking in your boots? Are you scared? Are you hiding under your covers? Are you crying your eyes out over this one? Or are you saying, it's not a big deal, and you're going to the beach and lobbing a beach ball around with your friends, drunk. A lot of people in California are doing that. They're really getting upset because there's a quarantine there. They did start the quarantine, and no one's really heeding it. Well, not all the people. There's always a few that ruins it for the rest of us. The people that are deniers, they're in denial. In Florida, same thing. They had to close all the beaches to the revelers. I'm sorry you didn't get your spring break, but you know what? When you get to be an adult, you could take 4 weeks off, you know? You could arrange your life in a way that you live on the beach if you really want to, you know? I mean, spring breakers are adults, but, you know, I mean, when you're out in the real world as an adult, when you know, I didn't feel like an adult when I was in college. Even though I was an adult, I didn't feel like it. Even when I was 19, I was a teenager still, you know? Okay, yeah, legal adult, but I didn't feel like it. And I didn't feel like paying attention to the rules either. So, I'm worried about what's going on in the U.S. That's, you know, I look around and I know that we are, you know, my kid and I, we're being as responsible as we possibly can. And I see what's coming out in us. Well, have we bickered? Yeah, a little bit. Being forced to be together. It's a lot different, isn't it, than choosing to be together. You know, I feel like another benefit, the 5th benefit I've come up with in a week for this. In fact, my son helped me come up with this one, so I can't take full credit of this, is that crime is gonna go down. Everybody's home, and everybody knows it, and everybody knows it's illegal to leave your house, you know, especially at night. I have a feeling that crime is going to go down because people are going to be afraid to get sick. Even the criminals. No one wants that. No one wants to get sick. I have a feeling that's what's going to come out of this. So, no pollution, no crime. Oh my God. It's ushering the golden age of humanity. Heaven on earth. It's crazy. It's crazy. So, I don't know, guys. I told you last week. What did I tell you? Like was it maybe Wednesday or Thursday? I said, I have a feeling within 7 days this is going to be in all of the countries. There are 195 countries and 2 territories on the planet. Right now, the coronavirus is affecting 195 countries and territories around the world, and 1 international conveyance, which is the Diamond Princess, which is still harbored in Yokohama, Japan. I don't know about you guys, but it's crazy. And the other thing is the death toll, it continues to climb, as we all know. As of this moment, there's 16,558 people have died from this. This is more than ever died of MERS or SARS or any of the other crap that we've had. Swine flu, bird flu, avian flu. You know, all the different flus from all the different animals. This is killed more than all those. However, it is still no match for the flu. The flu always kills 20 to 50,000 people every year minimum. Most years, 80,000 people die in 1 year due to the flu, just the normal flu. But right now, the death toll is at 14%. Remember back in those wonderful days when it was 6%? These numbers are skewed, though. I wanted to let you know that. First of all, there's probably been way more deaths than what they're reporting, because not everyone goes to the doctor. And some countries say if you have a heart condition and the coronavirus and you die, we're going to say it's a heart condition. So they don't record it the way that Italy does. And by the way, I don't know if I mentioned it on Friday or not, but the reason why so many people in Lombardy are dying, everybody, by the way, everybody in the Lombardy region has coronavirus right now. They tested every freaking resident, and every freaking resident has it. Every last stinking one of them has it. They have lost count of the bodies. Yesterday, 753 people died there. Today, 601 people died there. And people keep just dropping like flies, and they can't even count them all anymore. They don't even have time to bury them. They've had to have the military come in to bury the people. So let's say prayers for everybody in Italy right now. I'm counting my lucky stars that I did not buy the house in the Lombardy region that I absolutely fell in love with, that I just to this day would love to live there, except for the fact that, there's a massive plague there right now. This house was a couple 100 years old, absolutely gorgeous. One of the most beautiful things I ever saw, and I was like, do I move to Italy? Do I move to Detroit? Do I move to Italy? Do I move to Detroit? It was that close. It was like, flipping a damn coin. I almost moved to Lombardy. I almost moved there. I was dating a guy who, at the very last minute, showed me his true colors, and I was like, whew. He lives in Greece, and he works in Greece, and I was going to buy a house in Italy and live there, and he was going to try to get a job in Italy. And we knew each other for 5 whole years, and at the last minute, he just showed me who he was, and it wasn't anyone I wanted to be married to. Thank God. And so I still wanted to move to Italy without him, but then my oldest kid made friends with somebody in Detroit, and they talked every day. And my oldest was very shy and didn't talk to a lot of people, and this was significant. And she said, please, let's move to Detroit. I'm like, okay. So we moved to Detroit instead. I might have been sitting here talking to you guys from the Lombardy region with coronavirus right now. Otherwise. So God works in mysterious ways, and I'm thanking my lucky stars. My son and I are absolutely prepared for this. We are sitting here we have enough food now. He did go out over the weekend. He went out and he wore really old clothes, went down to he wore a complete face mask, including the mask filters down to just the micron of particles. It was a painter's mask, but also filters out viruses and everything. And he wore this mask that covered his eyes. And the only thing that wasn't covered was his ears. And remember when I told you guys, that last Monday, now this is for us quarantine day 7. So last Monday we went to the store. I wore a bandana over my face. We didn't have a mask. My son did not wear a mask. And we just kind of kept to ourselves. We kept our social distance from other people, except when a lady had a head of cabbage and started looking for the plastic bag, and I had the plastic bag looking for the cabbage. It was like, a Reese's peanut butter cup moment. You got your peanut butter, my chocolate, But I held the bag out for her, and she put the cabbage in the bag and said, thank you, mi amor. And I'm like, yeah, no problema, just everybody is so loving here. I don't know who she was. She's just a lady. But that's how everybody treats everybody here. Everyone is so sweet. So we went out shopping, and when we went out shopping last Monday, this is the scenario. Everybody gets in, they spray the shopping cart down with the cleanser fluid that kills everything. And then you have to hold your hands out, and you got to thoroughly put the hand sanitizer on your hands. And then you could shop. And everyone was able to shop together, and the whole store was freaking crowded. You guys, Ecuador, the entire country of Ecuador is now like this. My son went on Saturday. This is how it is. They took all of the shopping carts out of the store except for 30 of them. To measure how many people are in the store, no more than 30 are allowed in the store at any given time. The second you get to the store, all the places, they used to have a hot dog stand, that's out. They used to have a place where you could go buy cable TV, that's out. The entire mall is shut down, completely closed like a frickin' ghost town. All that there is now is the grocery store open. The pharmacy in the mall is closed. So all they have now is the grocery store, and they're all in like freaking, I think they're in like hazmat type suits, and they have the thing over their face, the masks over their face. They all wear blue gloves. My son said it was absolutely freaky. More than one person in a family cannot shop at the same time. Only one person per family can shop in the store at any given moment. They now just don't give you hand sanitizer only. Okay? They give you the hand sanitizer, they spray the hell out of the cart, and they spray the hell out of you with a they have like an air compressor with the anti-fumigant to kill all the virus if you have it. They treat you as if you were absolutely contaminated, and they decontaminate. My son was sprayed head to toe. He was soaking wet when he walked into that store. He was like, you missed a spot, and he said, you might as well get the underneath part of my shoes. And they sprayed the bottom of his shoes also. Now, if they're doing this in the United States, let me know. But I highly doubt this level of containment is going on in the United States. Now, if you're in a place where this is not going on, go tell your leaders immediately. Y'all have time. Hopefully you're quarantined or self-isolating. Write to your bosses. Tell them you're going to need an hour to write a letter. Yeah, I'm sorry, boss, I can't work for this hour. I'm going to write a letter to the senators. I'm going to write a letter to the governor and the mayors. Detroit mayor shut Detroit down for 21 days. No one's allowed out. Except to walk the dog. That's it. Gatherings of more than 2 people are not allowed in the UK anymore. They're finally going to do a quarantine. Oh my God, what took you so long, guys? Too many people are going to die because too many leaders in the world are resting on their damn laurels. Laurels. Nice old world term for asses. All right, so in China, they only have 78 new cases today and 7 deaths. Not too bad. They are doing something. I don't know. Or maybe they're not reporting it. It could be that as well. I don't know. 29 new deaths today in the United States. The total deaths in the U.S., 582 people have died in the U.S. You guys, today, in the past 24 hours, 2,411 new people in the United States have coronavirus, have tested positive. That brings it to 46,145 cases in the United States. They are not doing a nationwide quarantine yet. Why? It's going to continue to rise until they learn that, oh, hello. Because guess what? China has the most cases with 81,171 people. Italy is the second with 63,927 people. The United States is third in the world, 46,145 people, and Spain is fourth. As far as how many people, total amount of cases, I don't know why the United States is just like, we're all about freedom. It's part of our culture. Free to do whatever the hell I want to do. And that might be what's working against people, my fellow countrymen. That might be what's working against my people, right? But you guys, you've got to fucking self-quarantine. Stay the fuck at home. That's a hashtag. That is a new hashtag. Stay the fuck at home. Or stay the fuck home. Stay at home, guys. Stay at home. My son couldn't believe it. He was traumatized. He's 17 years old and he's tough as nails, but he was freaking traumatized. He got a taxi, went to the mall. No one was there. He was the only one in the store, and it was like a scene from a frickin' movie, he said. It was like they just hosed him down, like in the decontamination chamber that you see in sci-fi movies. That's what happened. And when he got in there, he was all disoriented after he breathed in this like straight freaking alcohol through the mask. And the mask fogged up, he could barely see. He brought stuff home, but as soon as he got home, he's like, oh my God, I didn't even get any vegetables. What the hell? He's like, he was so disoriented and completely traumatized. And he's like, you have asthma. I don't want you going out. I'm too scared for you. I'm like, I want to go out. And he's like, no, Mom, please. Talk me into me staying home. And I gave him, the money and he went. But he bought enough stuff. He got massive. And he said, this is another thing. It's not little tiny bags of rice on the shelves anymore, guys. When you go and there's like a bag of rice, the small bag for like $1 or 70 cents. You guys, all of those have been replaced with bags that are like 20 pounds of rice, 30 pounds of rice. That's what's on the shelves now. Everything is like a Costco bulk situation down here in South America, at least in Ecuador. This country does not frickin' play around with this shit. I'm looking at what the government's doing, and even though the health minister quit over the weekend, she didn't think that the response was fast enough. But it's going to spread whether the response is fast or not. 9 people were arrested on Saturday for being in the park after 7 because now the quarantine hours here are 7 at night. You can't even be out of your house for any reason after 7. And you can't leave your house for any reason before 5. And the military has come in, and the military in frickin' tanks are going around patrolling the neighborhoods as well as the cops. Have you noticed it's 24 minutes I've been recording this? Not one damn car in the background of my recording. This country is damn serious about this. I don't think there's still enough testing kits, although here in this city there are 7 centers for testing. They have already made certain hospitals here for absolutely those hospitals, and they've mapped them out. Those over there, or these 3 hospitals in the town, are for coronavirus patients only. If you have another emergency, these are the hospitals you go to where you won't catch coronavirus. It's that organized that quickly. Like the mayor made it that way here in this city, in Cuenca. I freaking love it here. This is safer than the United States right now. And that scares the hell out of me because I'm from the U.S. My kid is there. My kid's been on quarantine in the Bay Area for 7 days. It's really, all of this is really scary, man. But it's going to test your mettle. It's going to test it. You're going to find out if you're a worrywart, if you're a panicker. You're going to find out if you are a rebel. If you're going to say screw it and go off, and if I die, I die, going to the beach, screw you guys. You're going to find out if you're responsible. You're going to find out if you know how to shop. Now, I did see a YouTube video about a lady who went and literally bought every paper towel, every napkin, every toilet roll in a 99-cent store or Dollar Tree, something like that. Bought every last one. And she said she was going to sell it. She took 2 trucks to fill it up. And that is not a hoarder, guys. That is a profiteer. So, if you see people like that, they're profiteering. Get their license plate number, call the cops. That's illegal. That is a crime. So some people are going to become criminals in this time. They think that profiteering is just, getting one over on the little guy, or, hey, free enterprise, baby. No, that's profiteering. That's I think it's what it's called. I know it's a crime, though. To price gouge in a time of crisis. I mean, that lady will see several years in jail. And would it be worth it? They're probably running out of toilet paper in jail. So this is the time where we're going to find out who we are as people. Are you going to cry? Are you going to feel sorry for yourself? Probably. For a day or two. Everyone goes through that. It's almost like a stage of grief, right? You lost your freedom. The whole world is in this lockdown type of crisis, or should be. Some countries still don't even get it. Oh, we only have 9,000 people. Oh, it's going to blow over. South Korea, actually, they have 9,037 people. Today, they've had 76 new cases, but they've only had 120 deaths. They have a system that has facial recognition and cross-references with people's driver's license or student IDs. And when they go through a monitor system in the city, it takes their temperature. And if they have a fever, they do the facial recognition, and the authorities go to their house and test them immediately for coronavirus. It feels a little invasive, but they've only had 120 people die out of 9,000 cases, which it's pretty low. I think, they're doing their best. They just had 9 people die in the past 24 hours, but they're doing their best. Like in the Netherlands, they have 4,700 cases and 213 deaths already. They have double the amount of deaths and less than half the amount of cases. That's crazy. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm just looking at these numbers, and it's absolutely boggling the mind. Absolutely boggling the mind. I'm going to go down to I have to scroll so long now. Even Eritrea has at least 1 case. In Syria, they only have 1 case. Isn't that weird? As far as coronavirus, Syria is one of the safest countries right now. That's so weird, right? Not safe in other ways. There've been, this is not accurate. Yeah, so it says only 51 new deaths. It's just the day reset, and the numbers are still rolling in for the day. But Mexico, they've only had like 367 cases, and out of that, only 4 deaths. That's because one person died today. I don't know why that is. It's very low. I'm glad, though. They probably closed their borders immediately. But with the U.S., it boggles 46,000 people. It boggles my mind. France only has 19,856 people. And 860 deaths, though. They have more deaths. I don't know what makes it different. And there's so many factors because it's different. We're dealing with different cultures and different lifestyles and different, typical food items, that people eat. But we don't even know, honestly. It's like you just can't even tell anymore. You can't just say the Mediterranean diet is good for everyone and look at the people in the Mediterranean, because maybe the people in the Mediterranean that are dying of this are smokers. Maybe they lived in the U.S. for 30 years and moved back home. Everyone knows living in the U.S. is not healthy because, oh my God, the snack foods are incredibly invasive into your life. You know what I mean? I've met people who ate like vegan and then what's their bane? Doritos, My God, we have the best snack foods. That's why we have so many fat people. We have the best snack foods. I don't know, guys, if you saw the video of the Mountain Dew monsters, oh my God. These people there wanted to hoard and they were super, super fat and they went and hoarded Mountain Dew. I mean, the store said you can't buy that much Mountain Dew. No human being on earth needs that much Mountain Dew. I mean, they were trying to buy like 12 cases of Mountain Dew or something insane. Literally buying all the Mountain Dew on the shelf, and it's like, I don't know, Mountain Dew has a lot of caffeine in it, so that's how they get their caffeine, I'm assuming. I mean, maybe the quarantine will do them some good, I don't know. Oh my God, it's so sad. So sad. Even the little mom and pop shop on the corner, they are making you put hand sanitizer on your hands before you come in. They're not hosing you down. It's not as crazy as a grocery store. But they're closing their doors early. I mean, everyone is doing their part here for the most part. The people that aren't doing their part, people that are out after 7, they straight up go to jail. They get arrested. I wonder in the jail if they're separating people out. They probably are. This thing is crazy. We have one city that has like 400 cases, only in one city alone. And then the rest of the cases are in different places. 2 cities have the greater majority of it, and they're right next to each other. And then in our town, I think we might have, I don't even know, like 40 cases. Not that many. Out of like 420,000 people. But it's crazy, guys. Just be safe. But pay attention to what is this pulling out of you? I mean, if you're an extrovert, this has gotta hurt, man. I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry if you're an extrovert in these times. Especially if you live alone, my God. And if you don't have a pet, this has gotta really be hurting. Don't forget to reach out to your friends. Don't forget to talk to all of your friends every week. If you have 1,000 friends, now you got like 10 or 12 people to write every day. FaceTime, Skype, do what you need to do. As I'm saying this, I saw an angel in my room just now. So, hey, something freaky happened to me over the weekend, you guys. On Saturday, Friday, actually, I had this lightning bolt that followed my vision everywhere I looked. It was like kind of to the right of me. So it's almost like something that was in my eye, but not really, because there's nothing in my eye. And every time I looked, I could kind of see it out of the corner of my eye. And it was in the lightning bolt, it was like a crack in the space-time continuum is what it looked like. I don't know what it was, but that's what it looked like. And inside the lightning bolt, there was, I can't even, it was like stripes, like fruit striped gum almost. And it was purple, blue, not blue, purple, green, pale yellow, and kind of like a white. And then between every color was black. And it literally looked like there was a big crack in the space-time fabric right next to me. And I know it has something to do with my vision, and I thought it was maybe like a, something, I don't know, like a hallucination. And I had that weird strokey thing that happened. Not a stroke, but it was almost like a, magnetic anomaly inside the left half of my brain for just a split second, like a few days before. So that was very odd. And then on Saturday, I had 102-degree fever. It just steadily climbed like every 5 minutes. It just was like a lot worse, a lot worse, a lot worse. And I felt like crap. I had a massive headache for like a week. I've had a sore throat for a week. And then all of a sudden this steady 102-degree fever on Saturday. And within 24 hours, exactly on the nose, my temperature went down to 97.7. You know, it's like a thermostat trying to regulate itself. 98.6 Fahrenheit is normal. So it went down to 97.7, so below. So I had like the opposite of a fever. It was like a below fever. And it's not 100% regulated, but it's like hovering. It's like 98.3. So I'm hovering at normal right now. But this is the trajectory that coronavirus does take in some people. Now, I'm not saying I have it. I don't know. They won't test me unless I have the pneumonia part of it, right? You have to get to the really serious part of it to warrant, taking the test. So, I don't know. There was a lady, the first lady that died, she, I think it was the first lady in Italy that died of it. She was like 70 or something, but same kind of thing. She had a sore throat, she had a headache, she had muscle aches and fever and felt like crap. And then she had this fever that lasted for one day, 102-degree fever. And then the next day, the fever was completely gone. She thought she was healthy, and she got on a couple tour buses for the next 2 days. Absolutely healthy, felt great. And then after those 2 days is when the pneumonia part happened. It's crazy. So if I am sick tomorrow, I'm going to try my best to do a show. But I'll let you guys know. If the pneumonia part happens, I'll let you guys know. I'm kind of like, I don't think I have it. God says I wasn't going to get it. He told me when I asked him. So I don't know, maybe I'm just taking on some energy from other people that have it, maybe. Maybe I'm taking part of their pain away so they can live. I don't know. My empathic skills aren't just emotional. I take on physical stuff sometimes from people. It's very, very weird. So I'm going to let you guys know what happens with that. I'm glad that right now at least I don't have a fever and I feel good. Oh, one motorcycle. Wow. In 38 minutes, one motorcycle. Crazy, right? All right. So let's go to spaceweather.com. There's some interesting things today. The solar wind speed is 510.6 kilometers per second. You guys, I think that's like one of the highest numbers we've had since I started reading that out. But still, no sunspots. The sun is blank. That's so weird. 13, here's this number again, 13 days without a spot. So, where did all the sunspots go? It says, so far this year, the sun has been blank. Without sunspots, 76% of the time. And that's verging on the space age record set just last year in 2019, when the sun was blank 77% of the time. And so, of course, this means the solar minimum is still underway in spite of the signs of life that we've seen from the next solar cycle, which is 25. It says, stay tuned for more quiet. Very weird. Now, this person in Norway, this is what they had to say. The coronavirus pandemic has brought global travel to a screeching halt. Meanwhile, auroras are still dancing around the Arctic Circle. With the coronavirus at its peak, there is zero tourism in Norway. And she is a tour guide for the auroras. Specifically, her name is Marianne Bergley. And Marianne has to say this. But last night, the dog needed to go out, and as we were walking her, this splendid show appeared in the skies above. So if you want to see the most beautiful emerald green, you want to go to spaceweather.com and check this out. She says, my youngest daughter, Sarah, thinks she can talk to the aurora and asks the corona gods to lift this deadly virus so that we can enjoy life as it's meant to be. Says Bergley, one good thing is no matter where you go here in Tromsø, we have the, maybe it's not Tromsø, it's Tromso, Tromso, I don't know, Tromsø. We have the complete area to ourselves, just the way it used to be when I was a child. So at least she gets to share with her daughter a memory from her childhood. It's very beautiful, very, very interesting. This aura. Okay, aurora. So there's that. Thermospheric climate index remains cold today. And the Oulu neutron counts coming out of Finland. They're checking out what's happening with all of the cosmic radiation coming our way. And guess what? It's very high. There's also a picture of the star trails versus Starlink trails. It's a really strange picture if you want to check it out on spaceweather.com. And basically there's no significant coronal holes right now on the Earth's side of the sun, which means no solar winds coming our way. And according to the all sky cameras of NASA, there's only been 2 fireballs. It seems that most fireballs are also on quarantine today. Crazy stuff. So, all right, this is strange what's going on the disclosurenews.it website. Their graph is showing that there's like a dotted line. Looks almost like a perforation that's kind of going across the 24 part of the chart. Very strange. But anyway, the Schumann Resonance today from that website is 45. That was the biggest one. I'm not going to go into all the details, but you could read the details about all these striped lines going across. It's very strange. The background noise is kind of strange today, if you want to look at it. It's a visual, so I can't really describe too much of it to you guys. California started off at 53 hertz frequency at midnight. They went by 4 a.m. to 56 hertz frequency. Hafuf, Saudi Arabia, they're still flatlining at a dead zero still. Lithuania started off at 132 hertz frequency at midnight, and they remained there the whole time for 4 hours. Looks like they've been there for a while too, to be honest. So, Alberta, Canada started off at 21 hertz frequency at midnight, and they were 0 by 4 a.m. So, very strange that. Northland, New Zealand started off at 74 hertz frequency at midnight, and they stayed the same all the way across as well. 74 all the way across. Hululu, South Africa started off at 427 hertz frequency on the Schumann Resonance scale. 427. And by 4 a.m., they went up to 432 hertz frequency. I want you guys to pay attention to all the people that you listen to on YouTube or Instagram, all the so-called gurus who, quote unquote, feel it every time the Schumann Resonance goes up. If they don't mention this, that's not what they're feeling. I'm not denying that they're feeling something, right? But I am denying that they're feeling the Schumann Resonance. Because if it's like 44 and they go, oh, I just totally felt it. No, you didn't. You felt the 432 in Hululu. That's got to resonate throughout the whole planet. That's huge. That's huge. So, like, for real. And by the way, on Saturday, before we get too far into this, I wanted you to know something. In Hululu, South Africa, at 3 in the morning, Saturday, March 21st, the Schumann Resonance was 545 hertz frequency at 3 in the morning. So, in South Africa. So, you know, I don't know. You guys, I don't claim to feel it when the Schumann Resonance goes up or down. Because I don't know what I'm feeling, right? If I feel something, it's like I got to suss it out. But usually, especially when these numbers are super low and I feel something, then it tells me that it's not the Schumann Resonance I'm feeling. I'm feeling something, but not that. There's a lot of energies that are bombarding us right now, not just the one. You could kind of separate the wheat from the chaff on this when you really look at what are people saying about the Schumann Resonance. There was a couple of people I used to follow and I had to just delete them. Like, no way, dude. Like, I'm not subscribing to your made-up fairy tale, wonderful fairy wonderland of a world right now. I only want real, true, spiritual people that are actually have done the spiritual work. Whether you did it in this life or another, you know, but if I'm going to follow somebody and listen to them and waste my precious moments, you know, listening to someone, it's not going to be someone who goes, oh, I totally felt it. Oh my God, 44 is so high. No, it's not. 545 is high. And that's what it was on Saturday. You know, so that's why I will never lie to you guys. If I don't feel something or I do feel something, I won't tell you it's exactly this or exactly that. I will say for sure, I don't know. You know, because we don't. There's so much more in this world than we are even aware of. You know, that you know, even the best psychics will say, well, this is the reading I'm getting, but there's a lot of factors involved. If something's going to go absolutely in this one way in your life, but I tell you about it, that affects the outcome. And you always have personal choice. Now that you know when you go on this road, you're going to meet this person, you might, at the last minute, choose to go on another road. So don't blame me if you consciously made the effort to take a different route and you didn't meet the love of your life because you weren't ready for a relationship. It's not my fault. Because you're the one that asked me for the advice, right? Or the psychic reading. So it's just one of those things, you know. It's like everything is all up in the air. You guys, this corona thing could be over in 3 weeks if everyone just freaking shut it down, stayed the fuck at home. But because the United States isn't doing that, not yet. Because a lot of places aren't doing that, not yet. This thing could last 18 freaking months. It's just the stubborn few, the deniers. Do you guys know that the first Republican senator, I think senator or congressman, I can't remember which now, he got the virus. And now suddenly he's like, oh shit, this is real. Oh gee, you don't think it's a Democratic hoax anymore? What the hell? Science is real, guys. You have to have your mind and your wits about you. It's not all about the spirituality. It's about washing your frickin' hands too. Science is real. Louis Pasteur did not lie. Science is real. It bothers me, and people are like using the science to promote their spirituality, but then at the same time, like, I totally feel the Schumann Resonance, and that totally backs me up scientifically. Oh, but guess what? You totally get rid of the virus by meditating. You know what? You probably can. If you're a spiritual master, you can, for sure. If you're just waking up and you haven't done a whole lot of spiritual work yet, and you have a lot of catching up to do, you're not there yet, right? I can't even stop a virus 100% yet. I can lessen the effects of it. I know who to call upon for help. I know how to raise my vibration. I know how to line up all my chakras and vibe myself really high. I know I'm in the 5th dimension. But the parts of my body that are still not 100% crystalline, I was sick on Saturday. And again, maybe, I don't know, I might have just been taking it from people. I might have been just pulling some of the energy and taking on. If God asks me to do it, I do it, even if he asks my spirit and I'm not consciously aware of it. I'm sure that happens quite a bit. Can you pray something away? You bet your sweet bippy. Can you do it while you're rolling around in the mud, in the slop, out in the back 40 with the pigs? Probably no. Not that anyone of you is doing that. No one's doing that. But I mean, you gotta wash your hands. You gotta bleach your air. Get a spray bottle with a fine mist part of it. Instead of spraying your floor directly, spray it up into the air. Knock the virus to the ground and kill it with the bleach. I did that to my room. My I don't know what, something in my room was smelling strange. I don't know what it was. I had lit a candle. I don't know maybe if that was it or not, but I cleaned my room. I did my floor, my bathroom floor, and I sprayed everywhere. I sprayed bleach everywhere. And now my room smells great again. And our whole house, we've done our whole house. And we spray off all the counters with bleach every time, every day now. Not something we were normally doing. I mean, our house was pretty messy before. Now it's absolutely really clean. Our front door is completely taped up with duct tape and plastic over the door. I told you guys that I heard the neighbors coughing last week. We don't want any freaking party of that. When my son came home from the grocery store, I sprayed him down with bleach. He asked me to. I couldn't even. I'm like, I'm not going to spray you in the face, dude. And he still had the mask on. He's like, just do it. He sprayed his ear holes. He sprayed everything. This shit is hitting the fan, man. It is. And we're doing everything we can to prevent it in our lives. And I hope that you guys are too. I know when you're listening to me, I know you are doing your best. But man, stop going out to meet your friends. Just stop. Stay home. This whole thing could be over in 3 weeks. Ralph Smart had a vision that his higher self said 18 months. That this is going to go on for 18 months. Where it's going to come down to a military-forced lockdown quarantine. If y'all just stayed home. If everyone just stayed home. Tell everyone you know. Tell them to tell everyone they know. Mention it on all your Facebook groups. If everyone just stayed home. Whole thing would be done in like a month or less. Shall we still pray for it? Yes, we shall. Shall we still wash our hands? Yes, we shall. Hedge your bets in every direction. And keep meditating, keep raising your vibration, keep raising your immune system, eat right. You can meditate all day long, but if your diet is only steaks and Doritos and no other, not a vegetable in sight, you're probably going to get sick from something. Maybe not the coronavirus, but something. So you guys know this as well as I do. It's okay if you eat meat, but eat a lot of vegetables. 75% of your diet should be vegetables. I'm eating all plant-based stuff. I had chicken soup over the weekend. On Saturday, my son made me chicken soup. The chicken itself we made it and it smelled great. took a bite of it. It was where my son took a bite of it. I didn't even have a bite of it. He said, no, this is not. There's something wrong with the chicken. And he tasted the soup, and we both had the soup. And I ate that, and my fever was already starting when I started eating it. Oh, and by the way, you guys, I had 1 shot of whiskey, and the 1 shot of whiskey, that was it. It's all I needed. It worked. So here we go. Lesson 259 in A Course in Miracles, acim.org. Let me remember that there is no sin. Let me remember that there is no sin. Sin is the only thought that makes the goal of God seem unattainable. Who else could blind us to the obvious and make the strange and the distorted seem more clear? What else but sin engenders our attacks? What else but sin could be the source of guilt, demanding punishment and suffering? And what but sin could be the source of fear, obscuring God's creation, giving love to the attributes of fear and of attack? Father, I would not be insane today. I would not be afraid of love, nor seek for refuge in its opposite. For love can have no opposite. You are the source of everything there is, and everything that is remains with you and you with it. Let me remember that there is no sin. If you want to read this for yourself, acim.org, it's lesson 259. You can also just go get an app for A Course in Miracles. And there you have it. I'm going to take a quick break. When I come back, you guys, yay! Part 28 of the Spirit's book. We're going to start with question 918. Characteristics of the virtuous man. Woo! Right after this. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's high time you did. It is the absolute easiest way to make a podcast. First of all, it's absolutely free. Second of all, they have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. You guys have known that I've been doing this for 8 months using the Anchor.fm app right on my cell phone, and I have done it everywhere, right? I have recorded this in my living room, my bedroom, little cafes in Quito, Ecuador, all over Cuenca. It's so absolutely easy to make your podcast, and editing is just a snap. Anchor also will distribute your podcast for you, and it took me about 2.5 months to become syndicated, and now I'm available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more, and so can you. You can make money from your podcast also, and there's no minimum requirement. You get paid from your very first listener. It is everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. So please, if you are interested in making a podcast of your very own, do not hesitate to start with Anchor. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. I had a nice green tea over the break. My son said to me earlier, he said, you know, it's a good thing we're tea hoarders. It's funny all the weird words that have come into everybody's field of energy since this started. I think we officially became sugar hoarders. My son came, he bought so much sugar. He said, I'm like, we don't need this much sugar. This is crazy. Where's the vegetables? He's like, look, when the shit hits the fan, Mama, and we don't have money anymore, we're going to barter with this sugar to get the vegetables. Oh my God. Oh, I was laughing so hard. I'm like, look, when nothing hits nothing and everything gets back to normal in just a couple months, we're going to start our cookie business. We're going to use all that sugar you bought for our cookie business. Oh, goodness. But hey, I'm glad I have sugar to put in my green tea because it's very bitter. The kind that I bought. I'm glad I have tea too. It's one of those comforting things. All right, so here we go. This is part 28 of the Spirits book by Allan Kardec. He was a Frenchman living in Paris, and he published this book in April of 1857. Now, my higher guidance has told me that 92% of this book still remains accurate to this day. I believe it was accurate back in the day. 163 years ago. It will be a month from now, 163 years. So, some things have changed, different things in society and stuff have changed. So, for the most part, though, a very, very accurate book. Plus, it could only be as accurate as the person doing the research and the spirits in sympathy with him, following him around from medium to medium, saying the same thing over and over again, basically. That had to have been super annoying for the spirits, because I think that there are his spirits that followed him around from medium to medium going, what is this guy on about? And what he proved was all those mediums were real, and that the spirits were real. Mediums did not know each other. There were 5 different mediums. 2 of them were sisters living in the same household. Those were the only mediums that knew each other. And they would work in tandem with each other. And they would do like automatic writing, but they could also hear the spirits. And sometimes they would do like pictures. So far, though, I haven't seen any pictures in this book. So maybe that was only for the movie. If you're interested, and now that you've got time seeing it home, Kardec, Kardec, is the name of the movie on Netflix. I highly recommend it. It is an excellent movie. All right. In fact, it's how I found this book, to be honest with you. And I'm so grateful because this is a really good book. All right. So without further ado, we are on the part of the chapter called Characteristics of the Virtuous Man. Question 918. By what signs can we recognize a man as having accomplished the progress that will raise him in the spirit hierarchy? And the spirits say, the elevation of an incarnated spirit is proved by the conformity of all the acts of his corporeal life with the law of God, and by his comprehension of spiritual life. And Allan Kardec has a pretty long thing to say, his 2 cents. It's more like $2 worth, but we're going to read it right now. He says, the truly virtuous man is he who practices the law of justice, love, and charity in its greatest purity. If he interrogates his conscience in regards to the acts accomplished by him, he will ask himself whether he has done nothing wrong, whether he has done all the good in his power, whether no one has cause to complain of him, and whether he has done to others all that he would wish others to do to him. Being filled with the sentiment of charity and kindness for all, he does good for its own sake, without hope of reward, and sacrifices his own interest to justice. He is kind, benevolent, humane for all, because he sees a brother in every man, whatever his race or belief. If God has given him power and riches, he considers them as a trust confided in him for the general good. He is not vain of them, for he knows that God, who has given them to him, can take them from him. If the constitution of society has made other men dependent on him, he treats them with kindness and benevolence, as being his equals in the sight of God. He uses his authority to raise them morally, and not to crush them by his pride. He is indulgent for the weaknesses of others, knowing that he too needs indulgence, and remembering the words of Christ, "Let him that is without sin cast the first stone." He is not vindictive, but remembers only benefits. Following the example of Jesus, he forgives all offenses, for he knows that he will only obtain forgiveness in proportion as he has forgiven. He respects the rights of others as established by the law of nature as scrupulously as he desires those rights to be respected in his own case. All right, now we are in the section called Self-Knowledge. Question 919. What is the most efficacious method of ensuring one's own moral improvement in the present life and resisting the attraction of evil? One of the sages of antiquity has told you, "Know thyself," the spirits say. And the follow-up question, we fully admit the wisdom of the maxim, but this self-knowledge is just what it is most difficult to acquire. By what means can we acquire it? And the spirits say, "Do what I myself used to do during my life upon the earth. At the close of each day, I examined my conscience, reviewed all that I had done, and I asked myself whether I had not failed in some duty, whether someone might not have reason to complain of me. It was in this way that I succeeded in obtaining a knowledge of myself and in ascertaining what there was in me that needed reforming. He who every evening thus should recall all the actions of the day, asking himself whether he has done ill or well, and praying God and his guardian angel to enlighten him, would acquire great strength for self-improvement, for, believe me, God would assist him. Ask yourself these questions. Inquire of yourself what you have done, and what was your aim in such and such a manner, whether you have done anything that you would blame in another, whether you have done anything that you would be ashamed to avow. Ask yourself also this question: if it pleased God to call me back at this moment into the other life, should I, on returning into the world of spirits, in which nothing is hidden, have to dread the sight of anyone? Examine what you may have done, first against God, next against your neighbor, lastly against yourself. The answers to these questions will either give repose to your conscience or show you some moral malady of which you will have to cure yourself. Self-knowledge is therefore the key to individual improvement, but you will ask, how is one to judge oneself? Is not each man subject to the illusions of self-love, which diminish his faults in his own eyes and find excuses for them? The miser thinks of himself to be merely practicing economy and foresight. The proud man thinks his pride to be only dignity. This is true, but you have a means of ascertainment that cannot deceive you. When you are in doubt as to the quality of any one of your actions, ask yourself what would be your judgment in regard to it if it were done by another. And if you would blame it in another, it cannot be less blamable when done by you. For God's justice has neither two weights nor two measures. Endeavor also to learn what is thought of it by others, and do not overlook the opinion of your enemies. For they have no interest in disguising the truth, and God often places them beside you as a mirror to warn you more frankly than would be done by a friend. Let him then who is firmly resolved on self-improvement examine his conscience in order to root out his evil tendencies as he roots out the weeds from his garden. Let him every night cast up his moral accounts for the day, as the tradesman counts his profit and loss. He may be sure that the former will be a more profitable operation than the latter. He who, after this footing tip of his day's doings, can say that the balance of the account is in his favor, may sleep in peace and fearlessly await the moment of his awaking life awaking in the other life. Let the questions you address to us be clear and precise, and do not hesitate to multiply them. You may well devote a few minutes to the securing of a happiness that will last forever. Do you not labor every day with a view to ensuring repose for your old age? Is not this repose the object of your desires, the aim that prompts your endurance of the fatigues and privations of the moment? But what comparison is there between a few days of rest, impaired by the infirmities of the body, and the endless rest that awaits the virtuous? And is not this latter worth the making of a few efforts? I know that many will say the present is certain, the future uncertain. But this is precisely the error we are charged to remove from your minds, by showing you your future in such a way as to leave no doubt in your minds concerning it. This is why, having begun by producing phenomena calculated to arrest your attention through their appeal to your senses, we now give you the moral teachings that each of you is charged to spread abroad in his turn. It is to this end that we have dictated the Spirit's book. All right, so then it says St. Augustine, for some very odd reason. I don't know why. Anyway, now we go to the fourth book, Hopes and Consolations. Chapter 1. Earthly Joys and Sorrows. And here are the headings that we have to look forward to. 1. Happiness and unhappiness. 2. Loss of those we... Death? Why does it say that? Probably loss of those we love through death. I don't know why it says loss of those we death. 3. Weariness of life. Suicide. Affections. 4. Antipathetic unions. Antipathetic unions, I guess. 5. Fear of love. 6. Disappointments and ingratitude. Blighted. All right, here we go. Happiness and unhappiness. Question 920. Is it possible for man to enjoy perfect happiness upon the earth? The spirits say, you all know the answer, right? The spirits say, no! For corporeal life has been appointed to him either as a trial or an expiation. But it depends upon himself to lighten the evils of his lot and to render it as happy as life can be upon the earth. Question 921. We can conceive that man will be happy upon the earth when the human race shall have been transformed. But meanwhile, is it possible for each man to ensure for himself a moderate amount of happiness? The spirits say, man is more often the artisan of his own unhappiness. If he obeyed the law of God, he would not only spare himself much sorrow, but would also procure for himself all the felicity that is compatible with the grossness of earthly existence. And Allan Kardec adds his 2 cents. He says, he who is perfectly sure that the future life is a reality regards his corporeal life as being merely a traveler's momentary halt in a wayside inn, and easily consoles himself for the passing annoyances of a journey which is bringing him to a new and happier position that will be all the more satisfactory in proportion to the completeness of the preparations he has made for entering upon it. We are punished even in the present life for our infraction of the laws of corporeal existence by the sufferings which are the result of that infraction and of our own excesses. If we trace what we call our earthly ills back to their origin, we shall find them to be, for the most part, the result of a first deviation from a straight road. This deviation caused us to enter upon a wrong path, and each subsequent step brought us more and more deeply into trouble. I have a cousin, he always says, hey, trouble. He says that to everyone, hey, trouble. And he says, I'm trouble with a capital T. And he's like, totally not. He's like the sweetest person in the whole wide world. I don't know why that reminded me of him. I love him dearly. I miss him. I hope he's okay. And with my cousin is his wife. He's not trouble at all. He's like the sweetest person. Oh my God. All right. Question 922. Earthly happiness is relative to the position of each person. What suffices for the happiness of one would be misfortune for another. Is there nevertheless a common standard of happiness for all men? And the spirits say, as regards material existence, it is the possession of the necessaries of life. As regards moral existence, it is a good conscience and the belief of a future state. Question 923. Does not that which is a superfluity for one become a necessary of life for another, and vice versa, according to differences of position? And the spirits say, yes, according to your material ideas, your prejudices, your ambition, and all your absurd notions that you will gradually get rid of as you come to understand the truth of things. Undoubtedly, he who, having possessed an income of thousands, becomes reduced to as many hundreds, looks upon himself as being very unfortunate, because he can no longer cut so great a figure in the world, maintain what he calls his rank, keep horses, carriages, and lackeys, and gratify all his tastes and passions. He appears to himself to lack the very necessaries of life, but he is really so much to be pitied, while beside him so many others are dying of cold and hunger, and have not even where to lay their head. He who is wise compares himself with what is below him, never with what is above him, unless it be to raise his soul towards the infinite. You know, real quick, guys, the whole coronavirus thing, did you guys know that suddenly in California, finally, the government is building housing in some areas for homeless people? Oh my God, why didn't they do it before? But because of the virus and the quarantine of having to stay inside, they're finally getting houses that they deserve. Everyone deserves a place to live. Anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up. It's one weird positive thing that's coming out. It's good, but it's weird that they didn't do it before. That's the weird part. Not that they're doing it, but that they're at this late date suddenly out of nowhere. Crazy. All right. Question 924. There are misfortunes which come upon men independently of their own conduct, and that befall even the most upright. Is there no way of preserving oneself from them? And the spirits say, such misfortunes must be borne with resignation and without murmuring, if you would progress. But you may always derive consolation from the hope of a happier future, provided you do what is needed to obtain it. Question 925. Why does God so often bestow the gifts of fortune on men who do not appear to have deserved such a favor? And the spirits say, wealth appears to be a favor to those who only see the present, but you must remember that fortune is often a more dangerous trial than poverty. It's crazy, right? Question 926. Does not civilization, by creating new wants, become the source of new afflictions? Ah, good question. The spirits say, the ills of your world are proportional to the factitious wants that you create for yourselves. He who is able to set bounds to his desires and to see without envy what is above him spares himself many of the disappointments of the earthly life. The richest of men is he who has the fewest needs. You envy the enjoyments of those who appear to you to be the favorites of fortune, but do not know what is in store for so many of them. If they use their wealth only for themselves, they are selfish, and in that case a terrible reverse awaits them. Instead of envying, you should pity them. God sometimes permits the wicked to prosper, but his prosperity is not to be envied, for he will pay for it with weeping and gnashing of teeth. If a righteous man undergoes misfortune, it is a trial from which, being bravely borne, he will reap a rich reward. Remember the words of Jesus. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Question 927. Superfluities are certainly not indispensable to happiness, but it is otherwise in regard to the necessaries of life. Is it not, then, really a misfortune to be deprived of these? And spirits say, a man is really unfortunate only when deprived of what is necessary to life and to bodily health. If this privation be the result of his own misconduct, he has only himself to blame for it. If it be the fault of others, a heavy responsibility will rest with those who have caused it. Question 928. By our special aptitudes, God evidently shows to each of us our special vocation. Are not many of the ills of life attributable to our not following that vocation? And the spirits say, yes. It often happens that parents, through pride or avarice, force their children from the path traced out for them by nature, but they will be held responsible for the results of this misdirection. And the follow-up question. You would then approve of the son of some high personages making himself a cobbler, for instance, if he were endowed with a natural aptitude for cobbling? And the spirits say, you must not go off into absurdities and exaggerations. Civilization has its necessities. Why should the son of a man occupying a high position make himself a cobbler if able to do something more important? Such as one might always make himself useful according to the measure of his faculties without running counter to common sense. For instance, if he were not fitted to make a good lawyer, he might make a good engineer or a mechanician, etc. Way to slap someone down for asking a question. God, no. Oh, God. And Allan Kardec says, the placing of people in positions for which they are naturally unfit is assuredly one of the most frequent causes of failure and disappointment. And yet there's probably not one person listening to this who is a parent of a child forcing them to go to medical school, right? Yeah, that always bothered me. You know, you have to be like your father, follow in his footsteps. You know, we're doctors, we're a doctor family. Well, you know, maybe in your doctor family, you raised an astronaut. Maybe you raised the next president who's going to pull us out of the recession we're going towards right now. You know, I mean, it's just let your kids' natural aptitude come out. I did that with my oldest, and I thought for sure that she was going to head towards absolute fame as a musician. So far, the recognition she's gotten is as an artist, and she just did a mural. And she's getting ready to go to school to become an astronaut, actually. because she has an aptitude for math, and quantum mechanics is like second nature to her. She's going to start working for NASA one day. It's been her dream since she was very little. I always told her you could do whatever you want, you be whatever you want. And then when she asked if she could be a mermaid, I said, well, maybe not that. We can't genetically like just grow tails. And she got really mad at me. Like, you could be anything a human can be, though. She still didn't talk to me for a couple days when she was 2. All right, or maybe 4. I think she had that temper tantrum when she was 4, but it's hilarious. That's okay. She could be an astronaut, though. All right. So, okay, Allan Kardec continues. He says, want of aptitude for the career on which one has entered in is an inexhaustible source of reverses. And as he who has thus failed in one career, in often prevented by pride from seeking a resource in some humbler avocation, he's often tempted to commit suicide in order to escape what he regards as a humiliation. Whereas if a sound moral education had raised him above the stupid prejudices of pride, he would have been at no loss to obtain the means of subsistence. Cool. All right, I've got to write my books. I've got to publish my books. Damn it. I don't know, you guys. I'm learning just as much as you guys are. So, it's a good book, right? Okay, question 929. There are persons who, being utterly without resources, though surrounded by abundance, have no other prospect than starvation. What course should they take under such circumstances? Ought they to allow themselves to die of hunger? And the Spirit say no one should ever admit into his mind the idea of allowing himself to die of hunger. A man could always find the means of obtaining food if pride did not interpose itself between want and work. It has often been said that no work is dishonorable if honestly done. But this is one of the aphorisms that each man is more prompt to apply to his neighbor than to himself. Yeah, right? Okay. Question 930. It is evident that were it not for the social prejudices by which we allow ourselves to be swayed, a man would always be able to find some sort of work that would enable him to gain a living, even though he thus took a humbler position. But among those who have no such prejudices, or who put them aside, are there not some who are really unable to provide for their wants through illness or through other circumstances independent of their will? The spirits say, in a society organized according to the law of Christ, no one would die of hunger. I know, right? And Allan Kardec says, were society organized with wisdom and forethought, no one could lack the necessaries of life unless through his own fault. But a man's faults themselves are often the result of the circumstances in which he finds himself placed. When men shall have advanced sufficiently to practice the law of God, they will not only be better intrinsically and as individuals, but will organize their social relations on a basis of justice and charity. Question 931. Why is it that in our world the classes that suffer are so much more numerous than those that are prosperous? And the spirits say, none of you are perfectly happy, and what the world regards as prosperity often hides the most poignant of sorrows. Suffering is everywhere. However, by way of replying to the thought which prompted your question, I answer that what you call the suffering classes are the most numerous because the earth is a place of expiation. When mankind shall have made it the sojourn of goodness and of good spirits, there will be no more unhappiness in the earth, which will then be a terrestrial paradise for all its inhabitants. I know what you guys are thinking. Hopefully you're thinking what I'm thinking right now. Well, yeah, we're getting ready to live that heaven on earth, that golden age of man. Oh, we're right on the verge. It's like we're going to see in our lifetimes what the Spirit spoke to Allan Kardec about. I feel it. Do you guys feel it? It's pretty cool, right? Wash your hands and stay at home so we can all see it together, please. 932. How is it that in this world the wicked so often have power over the good? And spirits say, that is a consequence of the weakness of the good. The wicked are intriguing and audacious. The good are often timid. When the latter shall be determined to have the upper hand, they will have it. Question 933. Men are often the artisans of their own worldly sufferings, and are they also the artisans of their moral sufferings? And the spirits say, oh, even more so, for their worldly sufferings are often independent of their action, but it is wounded pride, disappointed ambition, the anxieties of avarice, envy, jealousy, all the passions, in short, that constitute the torments of the soul. Envy and jealousy. Happy are they who know not those two gnawing worms. Where envy and jealousy exist, there can be no calm, no repose. Before him who is the slave of those passions, the objects of his longings, of his hatreds, of his anger, stand like so many phantoms, pursuing him without respite, even in his sleep. The envious and jealous are always in a fever. Is such a state a desirable one? Can you not understand that with such passions, man creates for himself the most terrible tortures, and that the earth really becomes a hell for him? And, this looks interesting. Allan Kardec says, many of our colloquial expressions present vivid pictures of the effects of different passions. Oh my God, he's a man after my own heart, you guys. I talk about this a lot, like what colloquialisms we have and what do they mean and where do they come from. And, you know, my son and I are always talking about this stuff. Oh my God, it's so awesome. Anyway, he goes on, he says, we say puffed up with pride, dying with envy, bursting with spite, devoured by jealousy, etc. Pictures that are only too true to their originals. In many cases, these evil passions have no determinate object. There are persons, for instance, who are naturally jealous of everyone who rises, of everything that oversteps the common line, even when their own interest is in no way concerned, and simply because they are not able to command a similar success. Every manifestation of superiority on the part of others is regarded by them as an offense to themselves, for the jealousy of mediocrity would always, if it could, bring everyone down to its own level. Much of the unhappiness of human life is a result of the undue importance attached by man to the things of this world. Vanity, disappointed ambition, and cupidity make up no small part of his troubles. If he placed his aims beyond the narrow circle of his outer life, if he raised his thoughts towards the infinitude that is his destiny, the vicissitudes of human existence would seem to him as petty and puerile as a broken toy over the loss of which the child weeps so bitterly. He who finds his happiness only in the satisfaction of pride and of gross material appetites is unhappy when he cannot satisfy them, while he who asks for no superfluities is happy under circumstances that would be deemed calamitous by others. Kind of like some jugglers I know. We are now speaking of civilized people, for the savage, having fewer wants, has not the same incitements to envy and anxiety. His way of looking at things is altogether different. In the civilized state, man reasons upon and analyzes his unhappiness, and is therefore all the more painfully affected by it. But he may also reason upon and analyze the means of consolation within his reach. This consolation is furnished to him by Christianity, which gives him the hope of a better future, and by Spiritism, which gives him the certainty of that future. Well, we can see where he's coming from, right? Okay, cool. Thanks, Allan, for the plug for Christianity yet again. There's other religions in the world, and God loves us all, even if we don't have a religion. I mean, I've had conversations with God about this. Although he did tell me to become a Muslim, and I did. Shocked the bejesus out of me? Is that what you say? No. All right. Loss of those we love. This is the part of the chapter we're at now. Loss of those we love. Whew. It's good timing, right? Or bad timing? Anyway, okay. Question 934. Is not the loss of those who are dear to us a legitimate source of sorrow, seeing that this loss is both irreparable and independent of our action? I mean, right? Unless we kill them. But anyway, moving right along. The spirits say, this cause of sorrow which acts alike upon rich and poor is the common law of humanity. For it is either a trial or an expiation, but you have the consolation of holding communication with your friends through the means already possessed by you, while awaiting other means that will be more direct and more accessible to your senses. Yes, baby, psychic mediumship. Okay, it's just like being on the telephone. Question 935. What is to be thought of the opinion which regards communication with those who are beyond the grave as a profanation? Like, basically, it's profane. A lot of people that are religious think it's profane to talk to the dead. They say, let sleeping dogs lie, or they'll say, let the dead bury themselves, or whatever. I don't know. There's a bunch of different sayings. I think Jesus said that one. You know, like, just basically leave the dead alone. You know, you got other crap to do while you're here, and then you can go see them later, basically. And sometimes you just can't let go, and you have to talk to that person. And if you can't do it telepathy, you talk to me. Ask me to talk to your relatives for you. I'll do that. You know, for a donation, I will do it. You know, just make an offer. But, you know, of course I'm going to help people talk to their dead. It's sometimes you need that extra closure, you know, like they died suddenly, or you weren't there with them when they died, you know, and you feel guilty for whatever reason, you know. Anyway, so anyway, what is to be thought of the opinion which regards communication with those who are beyond the grave as a profanation? Is it profane? So the spirits say there can be no profanation when there is reverent concentration of thought and sympathy, and when the evocation is made with fitting respect. And the proof of this is found in the fact the spirits who love you take pleasure in coming to you. They rejoice in being remembered by you and in being able to converse with you. But there would be profanation in this communication if carried on in a spirit of frivolity. Yeah, that's true. If you're not honoring and respecting the dead, and you're just doing it as a parlor trick or a party, you know, a party game, that's when it's just really wrong. That's when it's profane. You know, like you wouldn't call up, you know, your great aunt Bessie and, you know, laugh at her for everything she said and put on speakerphone and have all your friends laugh at her any more than you would, you know, when she's alive or dead, right? You know, just treat everyone as if it's like your favorite aunt or your uncle or something, you know. All right. So Allan Kardec says the possibility of entering into communication with spirits is most consoling, since it gives us the means of holding converse with those of our relatives and friends who have quitted the earthly life before us. By our evocation, we draw them nearer to us. They come to our side, hear us, and reply to us. There is, so to say, no longer any separation between them and us. They aid us with their counsels and assure us of the pleasure afforded them by our remembrance. It is a satisfaction for us to know that they are happy, to learn from themselves the details of their new existence, and to acquire the certainty of our rejoining them in our turn. Question 936. What effect has the inconsolable sorrow of survivors upon the spirits who are the object of that sorrow? And the spirits say, a spirit is touched by the remembrance and regrets of those he has loved, but a persistent and unreasonable sorrow affects him painfully, because he sees in this excessive grief a want of faith of the future and confidence in God, and consequently an obstacle to the advancement of the mourner and perhaps to their reunion. So Allan Kardec, he says to that, a spirit when disincarnated, being happier than he was upon the earth, to regret his change of life is to regret his being happy. Two friends are prisoners shut up in the same dungeon. Both of them are some day to be set at liberty, but one of them obtains his deliverance before the other. Would it be kind on the part of him who remains in prison to regret that his friend has been set at liberty before him? Would there not be on his part more selfishness than affection in wishing his friend to remain in captivity and suffering as long as himself? It is the same with two persons who love one another upon the earth. He who quits it first is the first delivered, and the other ought to rejoice in his deliverance, while awaiting with patience the moment when he shall be delivered in his turn. We may illustrate this subject by another comparison. You have a friend whose situation while remaining near you is a painful one. His health or his interests require that he should go to another country, where he will be better off in every respect. He will no longer be near you at every moment, but you will still be in correspondence with him. The separation between you will only be your daily life. Should you what the hell am I saying? Should you grieve, not groove. Hey, baby, let's groove. Okay, no, not that. No dancing. Oh, thank God I have to see him it's like the plight of every introvert ever. It's like, yeah, I like them, but I just need my time alone. I'm just kidding. Anyway, should you grieve for his removal, since it is for his good? But by the evidence proofs which it gives us of the reality of the future life and of the presence about us, and the continued affection and solicitude of those we have loved, as well as by the relations which it enables us to keep up with them, Spiritism offers us the most effectual consolation under the greatest and most painful of earthly sorrows. It does away with solitude and separation, for it shows us that the most isolated of human beings is always surrounded by a host of friends. My brain just stopped at that. The most isolated of human beings is always surrounded by a host of friends with whom he can hold affectionate converse. Oh my God, we're all in self-isolation and we're surrounded by spirits right now. Oh my God, that's so weird. I mean, I know I'm surrounded by spirits all the time, but I didn't think about that everyone would be. I mean, even though we're always surrounded by our loved ones at one point or another. And you all know when they show up, when suddenly an unseasonable bluebird shows up, or like a butterfly. And especially if it's a butterfly in your mom's favorite color, if your mom has passed, or, sometimes like a chipmunk or a squirrel will be just sitting on the porch. And maybe your grandpa used to feed the chipmunks and the squirrels, you know what I mean? Animals always oftentimes will show up in there to kind of let you know, hey, we're here. But now that we're in self-isolation, hey, it's this time to develop your telepathy. All right, anyway, Allan Kardec goes on to say, we are often impatient under the tribulations of life. They seem to us so intolerable that we cannot believe it to be possible for us to bear up under them. And yet, if we have borne them with courage, if we have been able to silence our murmurings, we shall rejoice to have undergone them when we have finished our earthly career, as the patient rejoices when convalescent to have resigned himself to the painful course of treatment that has cured him of his malady. All right, so yeah, all right, there it is. I'm going to see if I could still read a few more of these. Cool. In fact, I'm going to read the whole next section. And then after this is the antipathetic unions. Does that mean unions that we don't feel sorry for? What is an antipathetic? I should probably look this word up. All right. Disappointments, ingratitude, blighted affections. That's the section we're on now. So let's check this one out. Question 937. Are not the disappointments that are caused by ingratitude and by the fragility of earthly friendships also a sort of source of bitterness of the human heart? And the spirits say, yes, but we teach you to feel pity for the ungrateful, for the faithless friends. Their unkindness will do more harm to themselves than to you. Ingratitude comes of selfishness. And he who is selfish will meet sooner or later with hearts as hard as his own has been. Think of all those who have done more good than you have done, who are more worthful than you are, and whose kindness has been repaid with ingratitude. Remember that Jesus himself during his life was scoffed at, despised, treated as a knave and an impostor. And do not be surprised that you should be treated in the same way. Let the consciousness of the good you have done be your recompense in your present life, and do not trouble yourself about those to whom you have done it. Ingratitude serves to test your persistence in doing good. It will be counted to your hereafter, and those who have been unmindful of your kindness will be punished, and all the more severely the greater has been their ingratitude. Did you guys just hear a rounding group of people going, huzzah? I swear I stopped in the little sentence because I heard that. I'm like, what? Actually, what? Was it just the little men in my head? I don't... Who said that? Oh my God. Huzzah! Like, hooray. What the heck? That was so weird. Question 938. Are not the disappointments caused by ingratitude calculated to harden the heart and render it unfeeling? And the spirits say, it would be wrong to let them do so. Let them do so. For the generous man is always glad to have done good. He knows that if those whom he has benefited do not remember his kindness in the present life, they will remember it in a future one, and will then feel shame and remorse for their ingratitude. Yeah, you know, guys, I do notice that sometimes people will come back to me years later and go, you know, I'm sorry I wasn't nicer to you. I'm sorry I did this or I did that. I'm sorry I didn't say thank you enough. Sometimes people are stuck in their own sorrow, in their own drama. They can't see the people around them. But when they come out of it, they will always come back and say thank you. You know, and again, it might not be in this life. It might be in the next. I mean, I agree with this. Absolutely. All right. But the follow-up question to this, but this knowledge will not prevent him from being acutely pained by ingratitude in the present life. Might not this pain lead him to think that he would be happier if he possessed less sensibility? The spirits say, yes, if you preferred a selfish happiness, but that sort of happiness is a very pitiable one. Let such a man try to understand that the ungrateful friends who desert him are unworthy of his friendship, and that he has been mistaken in his estimate of them, and he will no longer regret their loss. Their place will by and by be filled by others who are better able to understand him. You should pity those from whom you have received ill treatment that you have not deserved, for a heavy retribution will overtake them. But you should not allow yourselves to be painfully affected by their misconduct. Your indifference to their ill treatment will place you above them. High above you, even if they don't love you. No, I don't know, what's that song? High above me, you still love me. What's that song? You guys, I know you guys know that song and I can't sing. Sorry about that. All right. So Allan Kardec adds to this. Nature has implanted in man the need of loving, of being loved. One of the greatest enjoyments accorded to him upon the earth is the meeting of hearts that sympathize with his own. This sympathy gives him a foretaste of the happiness that awaits him in the world of perfected spirits, where all is love and kindness, a happiness that is refused to the selfish. There you go. All right, well, I think we're going to stop here because this next one looks like pretty long. It's like follow-up after follow-up after follow-up question, but I can't wait to get into this. Well, it gives me time, gives me a week to look up what the hell does antipathetic mean. Antipathetic unions? Very interesting, isn't it? All right. Maybe it just means people that somehow end up in union and they're not attracted to each other. And maybe this has something to do with, like when people are forced to marry because the combined wealth of the families will carry on for generations. That sort of crap. And also, royalties has to marry royalty and, to keep the family bloodlines pure and going and blah, blah, blah. And again, and a lot of other crap. Arbitrarily deciding that one group is better than the other, and then that better group has to go find another group that's also better. I don't know. They're not always better. Some queens are wonderful. God bless you, Mary, Queen of Scots. She did some things at the end that weren't so good, but I don't know. I've got a lot of love and heart for her, just to be honest with you. Not a whole lot of royalties ever taken my affections, but Mary, Queen of Scots, yes. And most of Scotland, by the by. Anyway, all right, well, there you have it for tonight. That is the reading of the Spirits book. So, getting back to the theme of the introduction, I want you guys to pay attention to who you are in this time. If you like who you are, congratulations, you've become the person you always wanted to be. And now you get to see that that's the truth. And for those of you that still have some things to work on, now you've got time to work on it. I love all of you, no matter what. Whether you have something to work on or not, we all do have some things to work on. Some of us more than others. I've had to go through a lot, overcome a lot in my life, and I'm grateful that I've worked on myself. This is a time to work on ourselves, so yay! We have it. We have the time. I love you guys so much, and thank you so much for being my audience and my listeners, and a lot of you participate. I have not looked at my email for like 3 weeks. I'm so sorry about that. I've had bigger things on my plate lately, things behind the scenes, but I will get to those soon. And I do love you guys so much, and just keep on keeping on. Don't look at this as 2 weeks or 3 weeks that you have to be in quarantine. Look at it as today I get to be by myself and learn about myself. Today I get to stay home and do what I want. Hey, today I get to wear pajamas all day if I want. Today I could start with dessert first, eat my ice cream now, if you have any, and, eat my breakfast cereal at the end of the day. I don't know, do a reverse day. Work on yourself, but also have fun. Do your fun things, and that's it. I'm going to go. So I'll be back tomorrow with all unique and original programming. God willing, and the creeks don't rise. I don't even know what I'm going to do tomorrow. It's always up to God. Every day is up to God. I ask God, hey, what are we going to do today? And He'll let me know. Usually it's a channeling, but it is Tuesday, so maybe we'll do something about the coronavirus, and maybe we'll do a reading or something. Maybe tomorrow will be a pendulum or card reading. Anyway, I'll be back tomorrow. There you go. Don't forget to set your alarms for July 1st, because you're going to want to vote for me, if you want to vote for me, if you think I deserve it, for the best metaphysical podcast in the world with the People's Choice Awards. So I've created a body of work, and now I feel like I can reasonably ask for the title. So I threw my hat into the ring, and the voting starts on July 1st. So just put in your Google Calendar or your iCalendar, just so you have something to do in July. It's literally going to take it takes less than 2 minutes, maybe 1 minute to do it. So just put in there, and I'll tell you more in June and July when you guys are more close to the time. Anyway, thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing, and forwarding this podcast to everybody you know, especially those who, are bored because they're home, and also spiritually wakening up, and people who just like wide variety of topics and controversial stuff too, and paranormal and crazy stuff too. And please forward me to all your Facebook groups, all of the meditational groups, and all the people that like this kind of stuff. Thank you so much for that. Anyway, I'm signing off now with peace and joy and the high vibes of the holy fifth dimension. Until next time, guys, peace. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you.